All right. I believe I am live now. I will give it a couple minutes. Let me check to make sure we're good. For those of you that are catching the replay, make sure you post hashtag replay. My name is Wadjet. I am an intuitive wellness coach. I also am a tarot reader, energy healer. I focus on intuitive development, holistic health, and alignment of the mind, body, and spirit through health, wellness, and spiritual practice. Let me know if y'all can hear me all right, because this air conditioner is like blasting right now. I want to make sure it doesn't sound like I'm in a wind tunnel right now, because that's happened before. That has happened. So I am streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. You can find me in both places. My YouTube is Ujo Wadjet. My Facebook business page is Ujo Wadjet. It's on all platforms. It's Ujo Wadjet. That's where you can find me. Hey, everyone. Hey, Sophia. Greetings. You can hear me. Great. Hey, Michael. Hey, Lyric. What is up? So, if you have not heard already, I am doing a tarot series. And in this tarot series, which is going on, I did the first video last week Thursday. So every Thursday at 7 p.m. Hey, Aja. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central, you will catch me doing a live stream for the remainder of this month, because the focus is going to be tarot. And why I'm doing this is because I am launching, finally, Tarot Table Talk, which is my tarot mentorship circle. And I get asked questions all the time about tarot, and people have been wanting me to help them refine their craft and learn more or improve their skills. And I'm finally doing that. So if you're interested, definitely head over to my website, ujowadjet.com, and click on Tarot Table Talk. You can also click the link in the description of this post to get more details, because the last day to join is the 29th of August. This mentorship circle lasts for 4 months. And right now I'm doing an early bird pricing, which ends tomorrow, 21st of August at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time is the last time, is the deadline to get the early bird rate for this mentorship circle, but the doors will still be open until the 29th. So if you want to get a bit of a discount, then definitely head on over and sign up today or no later than tomorrow night. So, hey, Anita, what is up? So I'm looking forward to that, because the doors officially open for the program on the 30th of August, and that's when everyone will be entered into the group. So I'm really excited about that. So let's talk about tarot versus oracle cards. Now, if you have any questions while I am going through this, post them in the comments and I will respond to those questions. So one of the reasons why I chose this topic, tarot versus oracle, because most people don't really know what the difference is, or know if they should, whether you're a reader or if you are receiving a reading, you just don't really know, like, well, what's the difference, or how does it work? Like, how do I know which one is actually right for me? Which one is which one should I use? Even if you want to pick a deck, if you are interested in buying a deck, which one is right for you? How do you know? Like, help, right? So I'll share a little bit of my experience. So my first ever deck was actually an oracle deck. And at the time, I didn't know that what I purchased was an oracle deck. I thought that it was a tarot deck. And it can be confusing sometimes, because in that particular deck, it had the word tarot in it. So I thought that it was. But later on, I learned that there was a difference. And I have some of my decks here, and I'll show you. I love doing a little show and tell and geeking out on all things tarot and oracle. I love both equally. But there is a difference. So like for weeks, I'm like, I got my tarot deck. Had no idea that it was actually an oracle deck. So yeah, so I'm not trying to have y'all out there bogus like I was. I was out there thinking I was doing something, child, with my tarot deck that really wasn't a tarot deck. But hey, we all start somewhere. We all start somewhere, and I am not ashamed, okay? No fear. So let's talk about that. Now, as I mentioned, the first deck that I ever purchased was an oracle deck. Now, you will have some oracle decks that are similar to tarot. Tarot is a system of 78 cards. I think I have a deck over here. Let me grab the decks of 78 cards. Hold on. Nope. Yep. Okay. And here's one. Now, how cute. This was a gift. Modern Witch Tarot deck. Okay. This is a tarot deck, not an oracle deck. No, you don't have to be a witch to use this deck. If you are, that's fine too. It's for everybody. Decks have themes. Oracle cards have themes. Okay. The difference is tarot cards, right? Tarot is a system of 78 cards. And I kind of gave an overview of it. But I want to talk about the shape. Most tarot cards are about this size. Okay. And they're always going to have this basic structure. The basic construct of tarot is you have the major arcana. And I'll break these things down more in the mentorship circle. We'll kind of dive deeper into those type of questions and the different type of decks we're going to use. I almost purchased that. Listen, I got this as a gift and it's so cute. And I'll show you some of the cards as I'm talking. So this is a spin-off of the traditional tarot deck, which the most popular deck is the Rider-Waite deck. The Rider-Waite system, there are different types of tarot systems, and that's a whole nother conversation. Right now, I just want to talk about tarot versus oracle. But the most popular in regards to like when it comes to learning, it's typically the Rider-Waite system. So this deck is a themed deck, but it's based off of the Rider-Waite system. So when you see some of the cards, like right here, you see the Fool, and it's an image of a female, and this is called the Modern Witch Tarot. So it's a more modernized version of that deck, and it's super cute. Oh, you just ordered that? Yes, you just ordered it. It's so cute, right? So if you see this. The concept, is she not fabulous? Can we just talk about that? How fabulous she is. One of my favorite cards, by the way. So what the cards represent in the major arcana are similar no matter what the theme of the tarot is, right? There might be some spin-offs of it, but there's always going to be an empress or something that represents the divine mother, the divine father, and that's a whole and I'm using those terms loosely, that there's always going to be a card that represents the emperor, one that represents the Hierophant. Usually the Hierophant is a male figure. But again, depending on the tarot deck and the theme of that deck, there might be a different spinoff. There's always a lover's card. So those things you're always going to find, no matter what the tarot deck is. Is always going to be something like that. So, and I'll show you a different tarot deck. This is my personal favorite deck. So let me show you a difference here, just so you can see how, even though within the major arcana, this deck is very different. This is Vision Quest, which is my favorite ever deck. And this is what, and was also my first official tarot deck. So let's look at, so in this deck, in the major arcana, you see there's the Medicine Woman. And one of my favorite cards in this deck. Now, in this deck, and the Medicine Woman represents the High Priestess. However, in the Modern Witch deck, you see the images are different. However, you see the number 2, the Roman numeral 2, and it's located up here. 2 very different decks, right? 2 different themes. The name is actually even different here, but the representation of is the same in relation to the essence of what that card is supposed to represent. So that's one of the main things with tarot that you will see when it comes to, and that's in relation to the structure of tarot. So tarot cards will always be, notice how there's always some similarity. Some tarot cards will have differences in size, but this is the common size of the decks. Some are slightly bigger, and they do have large, like enlarged cards and mini decks and things like that. But that's something you always find. So you have the major arcana, the minor arcana, you have the court cards, and you have the suits, which are broken down usually based off of the elements or based off of, so based off of air, water, fire, and earth, which is usually swords, wands or batons, cups or chalices, and then you have pentacles or coins. So again, it depends on the theme. So like in this particular deck, in Vision Quest, for air represents swords in most decks. In this deck, air is represented by feathers, which is beautiful. So again, different theme, but the structure is the same. I have with the Golden Girls theme. Oh, I love the Golden Girls. I love that show and could not not get that deck. I love it. Yes, so there are theme decks. Like I have one. I'm a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. That was another gift, and I have a RuPaul's Drag Race tarot deck. Yes, I said it. Yes, a RuPaul's Drag Race tarot deck, and it's fabulous. So yeah, so that's the main thing with tarot. Now with Oracle, I'm going to show you some Oracle cards. Oracle does not have a structure. As I mentioned in my experience, when I thought I had a tarot deck and it was actually an Oracle deck, you can have some Oracle cards, Oracle decks that closely mimic tarot, but they have some slight variances. Then you have others that are just completely have no relation, no correlation with tarot at all. So, and just like with tarot, you can have different themes. So this deck is Ask Your Guides. And notice how it says Oracle cards on there, right? So you will have some decks. Here's another Oracle deck, or say Oracle cards, Nature, Spirit, Oracle cards. Now the size tends to be different. So look at the difference in size here. Let's pull one card. Oracle cards tend to be larger in size. Another thing with Oracle cards, they tend to really focus on imagery and then also having keywords. So like with the tarot decks, you'll have like a number and you'll have like one like main word. Some might have certain characteristics in the verbiage of the card. With Oracle, that's pretty typical. Some will just be only words. Some will have a combination of words and some keywords and mostly imagery. And you see how this one, some do use numbers. And that's usually a reference depending on like the guidebook. So there's usually a guidebook with most decks. Some Oracle cards do not come with a guidebook. Most tarot decks, every tarot deck I have purchased or received, the majority of them tend to have a book to go with it. So here, it's pretty much with Oracle, the theme can be whatever, and there's no set structure. The structure is based on the creator's vision of what they want that structure to be. So I have not come across an Oracle deck that has the full 78 cards in that structure. So usually the range is between like 30 to 70 cards in an Oracle deck. But again, it varies. So you'll see different imagery. There may or may not be a guidebook. And let me show you something else with the Oracle here. This one. Greetings, Centrally. Hey. So in this one, so we're just going to look at the difference between these two Oracle decks. And there isn't one that's better than the other. It's really about finding what works best for you. And we're going to talk about that next. So you have here, see, this one really focuses on imagery. It doesn't have a border. Like a lot of tarot decks tend to have borders. These tend not to. So this would be considered a borderless deck. Okay. And like this particular deck does not have numbers on them, but it does come with a guidebook. Usually with Oracle cards, the guidebook, if it just has keywords, then the book is based off of like just alphabetical order of whatever those words are. So, and again, these particular decks are about the same size. This is a standard size for an Oracle deck, but they come in various sizes. I have many different size Oracle decks. So, but this tends to be the average size. I don't know what the actual measurements are, but that tends to be the size. If you're partial to Oracle decks, tarot is very confusing. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. I'm actually starting a tarot mentorship circle because people get confused with tarot or get too caught up in, they get stuck with trying to learn, and then it really blocks their intuitive connection with tarot. So that's one of the main reasons, because tarot can be confusing, and I want to help those that are interested in wanting to learn, whether it's for them, for your own personal journey, or if you do eventually feel that calling to become a professional reader, then this can really help you remove some of those blockages and clear up some of that confusion. So one of the benefits with tarot, right? So which one is right for you? If you want to learn tarot and you feel blocked with it, you can use both Oracle and tarot together. That's something that I do all the time. Oracle cards are tend to be easier to connect with. It's easier to read Oracle cards. So why is that? Because you're not caught up in the structure of and the rules of tarot, right? And I use rules loosely. And it really allows you to explore from a different place because there's no structure. So see here, let's talk about some, like in this card, we have the medicine man, medicine woman, and this is a tarot deck. And I like to use these decks together. That has, what are the odds that these two cards happen to be right there? So this is an oracle deck. This is a native spirit oracle deck, and this tarot deck is a Vision Quest, which is based off of it's a Native American based deck. So these decks complement each other. So I like using these decks together, right? So there could be similarities, but the intention is different. This oracle card does not have it's not based off of the tarot structure. This one is. But there are some similarities in the essence of what it carries. But because this is not within the structure of tarot, how you read the card can be very different. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Now, when it comes to using oracle cards, depending on the style of oracle, this might be right for you if tarot is very confusing. This might be right for you if you are a visual learner and you really like, and you really get inspired through the imagery. So like I said, I'm a visual learner. So really allowing your intuition to flow through the images. And then just having some keywords, and let me show you another deck, having some keywords just to kind of prompt you and give you a, let me see, oh, here's one, and give you just kind of a general intention. Greetings, Buddha. That can be very helpful. Like, so in this deck, let me pull some other cards here. Right, just look at the image itself. And then you see it has some keywords here. And the keywords on the card, maybe only Shane calls out to you. Maybe the divine healers aspect doesn't matter, right? So this divine healers, this is part of this particular deck's structure or theme. So you see here, it has the keyword at the top, self-esteem, and then guardian angel Michael. So this particular deck has a theme and then the keyword. So maybe this type of oracle deck is something that would benefit you because it has the imagery and then it has some keywords. And it allows you to, it allows you to move without the structure, without feeling like you have to know the definition of the card, right? And even within the book itself, it'll give you, let me look for this card. So it'll give you some keywords in here, but you don't necessarily need to use these keywords in order to read from this, because you get a lot just from the card right now. But some of the keywords that pop up here are clairsentience, clairvoyance, telepathy, and reception, reception. And then it gives like a little paragraph of what that card represents. But just through that keyword of psychic awareness, it can really showcase that for you, depending on the question that's being asked, because that always determines, that gives more depth to what the card would represent in that reading. So let me know which type of cards do you find to be most connected with, or even the ones that I showed you today. So we have, with this oracle, you have ones that have more of a keyword and a theme and a bit of a structure with the numbers. Then you have those that are just mostly doing just the mostly imagery with a keyword. Are you doing readings? No, I'm not doing readings. I am talking about the difference between tarot and oracle cards, and explaining the difference and showing what those differences are to help you determine which type of deck would be right for you, whether you are interested in purchasing a deck at some point, or you have decks and you're not sure which one you should start with. Or even if you eventually want a reading and you get asked, like, well, do you want an oracle reading or a tarot reading? Then you can have a better idea of what it is. So another oracle deck here. This one's from my mentor, Aphrodite Stone. And this is the Mystic Stone Oracle, right? So this is a bit on the larger side. This is larger than this deck. Right, so you have, just so you can kind of get an idea of the differences in size. So this is a tarot deck. See the differences there. So with this one, this doesn't have imagery. This is just words. Like, that's all you're getting. Have you used any new ones you got from traveling? Not yet, but I will. I will definitely be using the new one soon. I have so many decks that I have not even opened yet. I opened up the one that I got in New Orleans, but I have not used it yet. But I'm excited to do so. And I'll be doing some reviews on that deck, on some of those decks as well. So think about, and let me just show you again. So you have a tarot deck that has no imagery. It's and really is just as effective. You can use either of these decks. You can use a combination of the two different oracles. This deck does not come with a guidebook, but it has some messages at the bottom along with the keyword and the intention of the card. So, and you also have some decks that are just images only, and they don't have any words, and they have no guidebook, nothing. And you just have to use your own intuition to determine what that is, what the message is in that card. So I want to share those decks because they're different enough to where you can see some of the variances, and then you can also determine, when it comes to an oracle deck, what style kind of works best for you. And there's so many different types of themes. So I think it was Anita that shared that she has like a Golden Girls themed deck. I have a RuPaul's Drag Race themed deck. I have so many, like this is a Native American themed deck. I have two Native American themed decks, a Native American themed tarot deck, a Native American themed oracle deck. I also have, here's another tarot deck, African American Tarot. So just like with oracle cards, you can have different themes. Same thing with tarot, and you can typically find something that's right up your alley. If you're into like video games, there's video game themed tarot decks and oracle decks. So reading. Greetings, Ivory. I'm actually not doing readings for this particular live stream. I'm just breaking down the difference between tarot and oracle and showing what those differences are. But definitely stay tuned for, I'll be going live every Thursday for the remainder of this month. And I will be doing readings for next week. Next week, Thursday, I will be doing some readings here. Cat theme. Yes, there are cat themes. I'm actually thinking about getting a cat theme deck. I do have some animal themed decks. So let's look at the African American tarot. And I'll show you that again. Where'd the box go? Okay. Here's the back. So here with this deck, I love the integration of, they use the themes, they're using African culture, they're using African American culture, and they're also addressing the tarot structure as well. So you see how it can be, it's incorporated. They're showing aspects of Black culture, African culture. So Black as an American, African American culture, African culture, and how those things tie together. So that's kind of and it talks about why it does this in this particular deck. So you get a lot of information about the intention of that particular tarot deck in the book. So with this also has different languages. And so you know how I mentioned some decks have chalices, some refer to it as cups. So this is one that refers to the water suit as chalices. So you do have international decks. You have decks that are in other languages or have different languages on them. So this is something that, again, you can decide what type of theme you connect with. Now, is tarot right for you? Tarot might be right for you if you want to if you're interested in learning the structure and you want to understand the system of tarot and work within that system. Tarot might be right for you if you want to exercise the logic of tarot with the intuitive aspects of yourself. So for me, that's one of the things I like about tarot. I can use it very logically and practically, but I can also, it also encourages me to connect more intuitively. So there's the logical aspect of tarot where you kind of have an idea of the structure and what it kind of means and understanding the story of tarot. But once you understand that, then you have to kind of release that, put that in the back of your mind. That's kind of, it's like once you learn tarot, and I think this is where people get stuck. They try to learn the system and they feel like they have to abide by every definition and every symbol in the cards for every reading. And that's not always the case. Because how you communicate intuitively is going to determine how that reading turns out. So if you get overwhelmed with tarot, the way that you can start, if you're not sure if it's right for you, or if you have a deck and you're like, well, I bought this deck and I want to learn about it, but I've been overwhelmed, then really start with just understanding the four main components, which is the major, the minor, major arcana, minor arcana, court cards, and the suits. Just start there, and just knowing that that is part of the general structure there. And just work with just that for a while. Or focus just on the major arcana and get comfortable with that. And then start learning more about the other aspects of the deck. So if you're wanting to learn, you don't have to learn it all right at the same time. You can really break down the system. And if you want to have a deeper connection with the history of tarot, and also how certain decks, when you incorporate that particular theme of the deck and your own connection with that deck, you're creating the energy that you create with that really becomes very unique to you. Can you get a good reading with a tarot deck? Can you get a good reading with the oracle deck? Yes. So tarot goes more in depth. Tarot is more of the details, right? It gives you more details. Oracle would be more of like the chapter review, and tarot is like the outline, breaking down like the table of contents of like, these are all the pieces within it. So it gives you additional layers, but depending on the type of oracle deck you get, you can get a lot of detail. So so like the deck that I pulled here that has just because it has the keywords and the image, you can also use the book and get some more background information on what that card is about to get more clarity. I see a lot of card readings on YouTube that use both. Yes. I use both. If you have ever gotten a reading from me, if I ever even pulled cards, because sometimes I'm at a point where I don't even need the cards some of the time. I really don't need the cards. I still like to use them though. I enjoy using both because they work and you have certain decks that work really well together. So like I showed you my Native American tarot deck and then my Native American oracle deck, those play really well together. And you can look at it as like, if you're using both together, like I mentioned, oracle cards is like the summary, or like it can also be like here's the overall, the final word of this reading, the recap. If you're using those things together. So tarot definitely involves more studying, involves more understanding, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Now, if it's something that you're wanting to do just for yourself, you can start with oracle cards and just to start to build up your confidence with using cards in general. Today, I have a podcast, Fit Body, Fit Spirit podcast, and a new episode went live today. And I actually shared part of my story with, back when I was a closeted tarot reader. I was in the closet. I didn't tell nobody I was reading cards. I was hiding in fear that I would be judged. So I actually shared some of that story there. So be sure to check out episode 15 of the podcast. And I believe I shared it here on I think I shared it here on the Facebook page. You can also head over to my website. or go on any podcast platform and check that out. So one of the things with using those cards, whatever combination you want to use them, if you just start to build your confidence using oracle cards, and then you can work your way up to tarot. Another recommendation, if you are not sure what's right for you, is you can use an oracle deck that is similar, that has a lot of the characteristics of tarot, which was my first deck that I honestly didn't know was an oracle deck, though. So you can find decks that really mirror the tarot system, but some of the differences would be like they don't have the 10th suit card, which is usually depicted in like a bad light, depending on or has like negative connotations, which to me, I don't agree with that. Or there might be certain variances that would not qualify that deck to be officially a tarot deck. So that could be a great way to study and then work your way into tarot. One of the main things when it comes to knowing which one is right for you is really just having confidence in the first place. You can also just use the guidebook and start with pulling one card a day. If you're going to have tarot, just pull one card and focus on learning what that card is about, getting a gist of it, but not feeling like you have to memorize it. Like this isn't the SATs. That's what I want you to kind of pay attention to. My first oracle deck has all pictures and no words. Awesome. So I would look at the picture and bring awareness to how the images make me feel. Then I looked at the book and was blown away of how the card related to my feelings and thought. Yes, Anita, that's a perfect way to use your deck. And I did something similar. That's a great way. You can do the same thing with tarot. So you don't have to look at the book at all. And let's do an exercise right now, right? Before we conclude here. If you see a deck, let me grab a tarot deck. Let's use this deck. So when you see this deck, when you see this card, what are some key words that come up for you? What energy can you pull from this card? Even if if you don't know anything about tarot, you don't even know what wands means, that's fine. Just look at, like, what is this card revealing to you? What is it showing for you? So that's where you start. Let me know in the comments. Even if you're watching the replay, post in the comments what comes up for you. Give me a key word or two. You don't have to know anything about tarot, about the system of tarot to get information from what comes up for you for this card. Yep, I did that with the Rider-Waite deck. I haven't even looked at the book for that deck. Awesome, that's beautiful. Victory, celebration, yes. So you can just take those keywords and just jot those things down. So if you have a deck and you have been like struggling with understanding, just start with doing a 1-card pull and seeing like what comes up for you. Don't look at the book. You can look at the book later. That's where I want you to start. Start to build your confidence with tarot 1 card at a time. Start with the 1-card pull and go from there. A lot of times, if you get too caught up in the definitions of things and trying to memorize then now you're getting too caught up in the logical aspect, and now you're not using your intuition. You're not using, like, you're not communicating through spirit, that spiritual communication. So that's why, like what I mentioned about, you can know the system logically, but you don't want to solely base everything on the logic. And I personally feel, in the way that I teach, is by first leading with spirit, leading with intuition, having the structure, the general structure of tarot, and even the flow of oracle, having a grasp of that, but not defining your practice, your tarot practice or your oracle practice, not defining it by every single definition. It's like, oh, well, if this is the Fool card, then this, it absolutely means this. Because as you build your connection with your decks, how your decks communicate with you starts to evolve. So that's something I want you to think about. If you have any questions, post them now, because we're getting ready to wrap things up. I will be here next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, for another live stream. And I'm also going to do some readings at the end of that live stream. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you stay tuned. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, or to if you aren't already following me on my Facebook business page, definitely do that, which is Wadjet on both platforms. And definitely check out my podcast, Fit Body, Fit Spirit. I just released a new episode today, episode 15, which talks about why you're afraid of getting started, and how perfect is that title with what we're talking about today. So if you have ever struggled with getting started with something, or felt disappointed in not staying consistent, then definitely check out that episode. And you can find that in a post on the Facebook page. And I'll also share that in the comments with you as well. If you're interested in joining me for my Tarot Mentorship Circle, be sure to click the link in the description, or also go to my website, ujowadjet.com, and you can click on Tarot Table Talk, and you can get all the details. Tomorrow is the last day for early bird pricing. So you have until Friday evening, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time, but the doors will still be open until the 29th of August. And so you'll have an opportunity to join, but August 29th will be the last day to join the Tarot Mentorship Circle, because after that, we gotta get our mentorship on. We gotta get things popping for September, for Virgo season. It's gotta happen. All right, so it has been a pleasure. Right, thanks for reminding me. I need to listen to that right now. Awesome, thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. I always appreciate that. And I will see you all next week, 7 p.m. Central Time, here on Facebook and YouTube. And other than that, have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you later.